Hi guys, you're back for episode 5 of Pints and Pundits, and in today's show we're going to be looking at Manchester United. It's been 7 years since they won the Premier League title. Can they still be considered as a big club? We're also going to be looking at the transfer of Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes and the potential of Harry Maguire coming to United. We'll also be taking a quick look at the Glazers out protests. Let's go. Producer Pav, welcome back, mate.
Cheers, man.
Good to see you. Lovely, mate. Look, so loads to jump into today.
Yeah,
a lot on. So going straight on to today's first topic on the agenda is: are United still a big club? Before I want to get your opinions, I just want to read out a few of the facts on this. So our last Premier League title was back in 2012, 2013.
Good old
days. The good old days, mate. We last won the FA Cup in 2015 and 16. EFL Trophy in 2016-17. Europa League final in 2016-17. Our Premier League finishes have been 7th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 2nd and 6th. What are your thoughts on this? Are we still a big club?
It's one of them things that a lot of fans have held on to, isn't it? We've spoken on fan cams, and when we've spoken to fans about possible transfers, they always say, we're the biggest club in the world. We need to do this. We need to do that. Like you said, commercially, revenue-wise, fan base-wise, we probably are. But if you're looking at performance on the pitch and, recent years of trophies, we're just not there, Peaky.
But is this the kind of thing that kind of coats it a bit for fans, that the fact that, we still manage to sell out our stadium every single week, 76,000, whatever it is, there every single week, regardless. We saw the season finish on relegation form, yet we had a packed house every single week. Fans will always turn in, always turn out. Is that what kind of gives us that false hope of, yes, we are still a big club, and masks a lot of the cracks?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's probably still hanging on from the Fergie days. Obviously, we built that reputation up as, such a successful club, biggest club in England, most known club around the world, known worldwide. Whenever we've visited Old Trafford, so many people from so many different countries we meet there regularly as well. Asia, Australia, America, all over the world. They come to see Manchester United. But I think kids growing up nowadays, it's not going to be a case of they're going to be supporting Man United from the off, because it's most likely they're going to be supporting the likes of Spurs, City, and back to Liverpool now. I think, like I said, I think we're hanging on a lot to the past success. And if you look at the likes of Real Madrid, who've won 4 out of 5 Champions Leagues in recent years, and we've done what in 7 years? Absolutely nothing. I don't think we can say anymore that we're the biggest club in the world. What do you think?
I was just going to ask you just quickly, do you fear a little bit then? You mentioned then about younger generations, growing up and supporting other teams if they're more successful at the time. If we have a period of time like Liverpool where we don't win the league for a number of years, are we going to see where the new generation obviously don't follow United, and we see the fan base maybe shrink a little bit as kind of generations go on, if we don't get back to kind of competing for titles?
Yeah, I think we still do have that hold over that kind of young generation that we are Man United. We still have that aura about us just because it's still there. We can feel it. But, if we don't do anything big or get back into that contention within about 5 or so years, I think that aura is going to slowly die away, unfortunately.
I think, like you asked my thoughts on it. I agree with you in what you're saying, that commercially, yes, we are still a big club. We still managed to get a lot of the big commercial deals to financially put us on top of the table in terms of how the club is run. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, and I know we're going to go on to it a bit later, about the Glazers out protest, if they do end up selling the club, what direction we will take. And then in that sense, if we have an Ola, and you only have to compare it to, I think Man City and their owners have put £1 billion into the club on transfers, and the Glazers have taken it out. And it shows that, United are kind of falling away on the pitch for sure, because we're not investing in the way we need to be dining with the big boys.
It could be a decade before we get another title again from when we last won it.
Yeah.
In 2012, 2013. It could be another decade before we're crowned champions again. What does that tell you about the club? Biggest clubs in the world don't wait a decade to win a Premier League title. Do you know what I mean?
And I think that's the biggest or the most concerning thing for us fans, especially through the Sir Alex Ferguson era, where, even if we won the Premier League title, similar to what Man City do now, they'll go and sign players for their squad. They're not just resting on the players they've got and whatever. They're always they're constantly looking to improve their squad and players available. Look, that's our opinion as fans, but put yourselves into the shoes of a player of a club who's looking for a move. Would you consider a club like United, a team, as your first choice where you would like to go and play? Or would you be more happy going to play for the likes of Liverpool, City or Spurs?
I think right now, if a player's out there and he's looking to, if he's, let's say he's 21, 22 years old, he's classed as one of, the brightest young talents in the world. If he's got a choice between City or United or, Liverpool or United or even Spurs United now, like in today's climate, I think he's going to not go for the other way. I don't think he's going to want to come to United right now in the situation we're in. We're in a building phase. We've not got the Champions League football. Very uncertain as to the long-term strategy of the club. Whereas you can go to City where Pep's playing amazing football. You can go to Liverpool where Klopp's got an amazing project going on. Don't like to say it, but he's doing really well there. And you've got Spurs who just gone into a brand new, really good stadium. Pochettino's reached a Champions League final. Those three clubs have got strategy. They're progressing. They're going in a direction to success and staying at success as well. Whereas we can't even touch success right now.
And is that the worrying thing for us as a football club, that the model or the vision or strategy, as you mentioned, has changed so much since Sir Alex Ferguson left with the 3 or 4 managers that we've had come in? Is that what, as fans, we're struggling to understand? What is our strategy? What is our system or style of play on the pitch as well?
Yeah, this is obviously going back to the overarching topic of the whole the director of football argument, that we need someone in to put a strategy in place. Until that's put in place and we know where we've got a year-by-year plan of, okay, it's top 4 this year, then it's competing, then it's winning the title, then it's getting back to the finals of the European Cup. That's when we're going to get a bit more structure in place. But to say right now Man United are the best club in the world, I'd say you're selling yourself a lie there.
How much longer can we allow, or will the board, if you like, or the owners allow Ed Woodward to stay in control of, it seems, absolutely everything and all the footballing decisions at the football club? We know he is well under par, for that position of bringing players in. For me personally, I think he's absolutely ruined the whole transfer policy of the football club, and I think that's why we are struggling to bring players in now, because of the silly money we've paid for players previously over the last few years, but then also the wage structure as well that he's implemented. How much longer will that be before we see an actual director of football come in? And secondly, will the director of football have much control, or will he just be a bit of a scapegoat to take a bit of the flack away from Ed Woodward if things don't go right?
It's a question I can't answer right now, because there's been so much hanging over it, over when it's going to happen. There were talks in February, March time that we're looking for this sort of role. It's not been filled yet. Fergie's given his his opinion that he wants Steve Walsh in. That looks like Ed Woodward's just rejected that. Woodward don't want to give his power up. I think Woodward would still have a lot of power in terms of the say of kind of how much they're going to be bidding for a player. Maybe even say we want this player for commercial reasons. I think the director of football or sporting director, whoever comes in, it's going to be more of a role that he'll be playing with Ollie in terms of strategy of the club. Whether we're going to be going down the road of youth, which it looks like we're doing with Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, or if we're going to be going for big names, like Bale, that's been mentioned. And
are you happy to see the club taking that approach now, where we're going back into the market for younger players?
I think it does show a little bit of intent, and it shows that Ollie's had a bit of a say as well. That look, we need to get back to the days where we're bringing in youth, bringing in players that are exciting, British, that want to play for the badge. We know that Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James are going to come in and they're going to give it their all every game. Unfortunately, we've brought in players recently that haven't done that.
Obviously, look, big football clubs also require big football players and leaders on the pitch as well. You've just mentioned we've got 2 youngsters who we've brought in now, in Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka. How important is it now that players like Jesse Lingard, if he's going to remain a Manchester United player, Paul Pogba, if he's to remain a Manchester United player, step up now and lead by example to show these youngsters, look, this is what it means to wear the badge. We've seen it on social media over the whole sort of last season, also during the off-season now, where these guys are on social media, which I don't think people would have a problem with if they're pulling their weight on the pitch and performing, which they're not. But how important is it now more than ever that people like Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba really step up and show these youngsters the way?
Yeah, they've got to definitely set an example. Paul Pogba specifically, if we're going back to the topic of being the biggest club in the world, you need to have some of the biggest players in the world as well. He's definitely one of them. So, if we lost him, might be a bit of a damaging blow to the club, because we might not be seen as that, they've got one of the best players in the world sort of thing. Whereas we've got De Gea and Pogba right now, who are 2 of the best in their positions. So obviously it's very key that they play their part of the club. They're strong role models and, drive us into a route of success that does get us back to the heights of being mentioned in the same breath as Real Madrid and Barcelona. Because right now we're a million miles away, Peaky.
Obviously,
Million miles away.
Again, yesterday, another kind of thing we touched on yesterday when I sort of spoke to a few of the fans at Old Trafford. We were sort of talking about leaders, and we felt, or one of them mentioned that Ashley Young has kind of been kept on probably as a bit of an experienced head in the dressing room. Yes, he probably won't play as many games next season with Wan-Bissaka coming in. Look, over the years we've had great leaders and legends of the football club in that dressing room: Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Vidic, Ferdinand. The list goes on; it's endless. To think that we've got Ashley Young as kind of the most experienced player in that dressing room at the moment, and
tells a lot about the club.
Is that a level of where we're at?
Yeah, it tells a lot about what we've kind of come to.
Yeah.
Not recruited correctly, for a number of years now. Let me ask you, Peaky, like, in terms of when you speak to the fans, do you think a lot of the fans are a little bit deluded and they still hang on to the biggest club in the world sort of?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because I think it hurts. I think internally,
you don't want to say we're not. We're not the biggest club right now, or we're not the best club in Manchester. It's not something we're used to saying.
Of course not. Look, you'll always kind of fight your own corner. You'll always back your club. You'll always back your team. But then I think there comes a point in time where, as fans, we have to hold our hands up as well and say, look, being honest, we're well off the mark, and definitely, we need big changes. We know that in the football club, but yeah, for sure, we're well off the mark at the moment.
Right, so Peaky, it's been pretty busy in the transfer window.
Finally, something's come through.
Yeah, last couple of weeks. So we've got 2 players through the doors now. Obviously, Wednesday 26th, David Ornstein on Twitter from the BBC broke the news that Wan-Bissaka signed a deal in the region of £45 million plus £5 million in add-ons, looking at around about £80,000 a week on the wages. It's actually United's 5th biggest ever signing, behind Pogba, Lukaku, Di Maria and Fred. It's been going back and forth for the last few weeks. It's finally happened.
Finally gone through.
Yeah, it's finally gone through. Tell us a bit about the boy.
Yeah, I think going on to the transfer, because a lot was made about how long it took to get done. I think it could have been done quicker, but then at the same time we have to kind of bear in mind that Wan-Bissaka was going off with the Euro.
It was always going to be a bit delayed.
And to be honest with you, if England progressed, in the Euros, it would have been even longer. So in hindsight, for United and being a bit selfish from that point of view, England got knocked out and it kind of went through. But look, going on to him, we know from his stats, just go through them, that he was ranked number 1 in his stats for defending last season. His clearance is 129, won 129 tackles as well. His success rate in tackling was 94%, and his take-ons 90, interceptions 84. And I saw a stat yesterday that combined with all of the players who played right back for United last season, he outdone all of them combined on his own. I'm sure he would have done a lot of defending last season with a club like Crystal Palace. But what I've got from him as well, and I think Wilfred Zaha come out yesterday as well and made a comment about him when asked like what's he like as a player, and he goes, unless you speak to him, you don't really hear a lot from him. He doesn't really chirp up a lot. He comes in, works hard.
That's what you want now.
Yeah, gets his work done and goes home.
Don't want another social media genius.
That's the thing, and I think in today's kind of whole era, if you like, is to see a player who just keeps his head down, comes in, does his graft, and goes home is quite.
The stats speak for themselves as well. To see him number 1 in all those rankings, it's pretty amazing that we've got him.
100%.
Other clubs after him, Spurs are after him. I think he's going to come in. He's going to slot right in.
Would he have been your first choice right back? Because I think he's been the main, obviously, right back we've been linked with. Was there anyone else out there who you would have maybe preferred to see come in, or are you happy to see?
I mean, I saw glimpses of him play throughout the Premier League season. I thought, he's looking good, but I think it was only his second full season. In the Premier League. So I was a bit wary, but as soon as the season finished and we were getting linked to all these players, his name just kept popping up. So I looked a bit more into him, looked a bit more into his stats, the way he played, and it's exactly what we needed. And we've been speaking the past couple of weeks. He's the one, I think, the key position of getting sorted first, because that right back spot, since Gary Neville and Wes Brown, it's not been filled fully.
How frustrated were we at games last season when we'd come out and we'd just be like, how can anyone not see that we need a right back, or we've not got a better right back? Kudos
to Valencia. He done a job there. He done a job.
Makeshift right back as well, really.
Yeah, makeshift. Ashley Young, obviously, might not have been his fault. He's been placed there by various managers.
Again, it's not his natural position.
Yeah, he's a winger at the end of the day, just been converted. Dallows came in, played a bit part, but now we've got a player who's a natural right back. Defensively, like we said, stats speak for themselves. Going forward, I think helping him with attacking players that we're going to be having in our team. Yeah, I think he'll be chipping in with more assists. His attacking stats will rise because we'll be playing attacking.
I was just going to say, because obviously that was highlighted quite well. That look, attacking wise, I think he only had about 3 assists last season, and he could do with a bit of work moving forward. But do you think, obviously, being at United, is it the right kind of environment
Yeah,
for
he'll
him?
have people to aim for. I mean, look at Palace. Who did he have to aim for? He had Zaha and Townsend.
up top.
They're ball to feet players.
Yeah.
Which Wan-Bissaka has showed. He showed where he can cut in. He's not an Alexander-Arnold where he's going to go on the outside and whip
balls in. Yeah.
He cuts in, and from his time, he used to be a striker when he was getting into the game. Then he moved out to a winger. So he does have that attacking ability in him, that kind of mindset. So it's just about kind of seeing it flourish.
The only concern I kind of had when I saw him play a little bit last season is sometimes he got, or looked like he might get caught on the ball at times. I don't think he was being relaxed on the ball too much. I think he was just very confident on the ball, and he's happy to it with him, with it at his feet. I just hope he gets off to a good start. When he's in the first team, gets a good couple of performances under his belt, just to get his confidence.
Hopefully
up.
we can see. Hopefully he's probably gonna have a little bit of a break because he's been away with England. But hopefully we can see him in a few of the pre-season games and see what he's got to offer, because he's going to be him alongside Daniel James as well. There's a lot of pace in that side now.
Definitely.
Just straight away added. And now I'm quite confident defensively, attacking wise as well, that we've got Shaw on the left, we've got Wan-Bissaka on the right, and we can go down either flank now.
Two good fullbacks, and I think like Luke Shaw. I think before he had his horrific injury, I think he was doing quite well.
He's getting back to that level now. He had a good season last season.
Player of the season as well.
I think he had a good season. I think it was a bit overrated as to people saying he was amazing.
How good it was,
But I think he'll flourish even more this season with kind of Ollie having a set structure rather than two different formations you're playing throughout the season.
And one thing I think we've lacked as well in the Manchester United team since Sir Alex Ferguson left, and something I think we've been used to as United fans, is having attacking fullbacks who overlap and get beyond their wingers to get balls into the box and whatever else. Do you think Ollie's going to look to inject that back into his style of play now with the two fullbacks in Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be one of the key areas. And when you've got Daniel James as well to provide that pace on the side, and if we do look to get someone on the right hand side as well who's got equally as much pace, it's going to be exciting. Generally, when we're attacking the teams lower at the table, because we'll just be pelting at them.
Yeah.
Or even when we're in a game against top 6 team on the break, we're going to have pure pace.
And I think that's the thing we've lacked over the last few seasons, is where we used to pin back other teams' wingers and fullbacks by getting our wingers and fullbacks on, and we've kind of invited that pressure on because we've not played that kind of wide attacking style of play. We've tried to play everything kind of through the middle where it's too tight and whatever else.
It gets slow, and then Pogba's on the ball.
It breaks down.
Yeah.
It just breaks down.
If Pogba does stay as well, it's going to give him options as well. More options for him to get creative as well. Speaking of creative players, another player that's been in the transfer talk for a long time now and was mentioned this week is Bruno Fernandes.
Yes.
They're saying it's a hijack deal that Liverpool are going for him. Got sent a couple of WhatsApps of him on a plane, and somebody sent a screenshot saying, "Where's you going to be going to Liverpool?" He's kind of hinting at it. What do you think, Peaky? Do you think Liverpool are going to get him? Are we still in for him?
I don't know. I think the club are still resting or relying a lot on what's going to happen with Paul Pogba. Yeah. Now, the biggest kind of concern I've got with that deal going through is that when the British or the English transfer window closes, it's before the European market does.
Yeah. So we can still sell.
So that's what I think. I
don't think Ed's gonna. I think Ed's smart enough to not get United in that sort of position.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope so, because I don't want a position where we don't bring a central midfielder in and then Madrid or Juve come in for Pogba and he goes once the window's closed.
We're flying out next week for the tour, and is he going to be on that tour?
Well, this is the thing. What I'm really struggling to understand, because Ollie made it absolutely crystal clear. He wanted to get his business done early doors. So when
I think he regrets that now.
Big time. It's not going to happen. I think maybe he come out and said it to make a bit of a statement, so the board would back him to get his business done early. Obviously, it's not happened.
I think the board told him a few false truths and said, "Look, we'll get you these players by X amount." And this is what a lot of people go back to with even when Pogba was brought in. Did they sell him false hope and false dreams of we're going to bring in these players and whatever else? Andy Tate yesterday from Full Time, Devils made a point of it of, are we kind of just not able to do more than one transfer at a time? Madrid have wrapped up about 5 signings. United have struggled to get one over the line. We're more concerned about doing a big marketing campaign than actually getting the players in.
Yeah,
that's what we're more concerned about.
And again, it relates back to when Ander Herrera left and they did that whole marketing piece and video around him.
So silly, man.
And like you said, the club are more focused on doing stuff like that than actually just going in and getting business done.
It's all image to Woodwards.
But Fernandes, I hope he comes in, because like we saw, his contribution from midfield, goals and assists, and I think we could do with a player like that. If he is identified as a player we need to go and get, they should just go and get the business done. Regardless if Pogba stays or leaves, I think we still need another central midfielder. Yeah, especially with Herrera going.
In that sort of position, I'd take him or Maddison. I'd probably
one of the two. Yeah,
probably prefer Fernandes just because there's a lot of hype around him.
Yeah.
But another midfielder that was kind of on our radar is Tanguy Ndombele.
Yeah.
Sky reported that a record deal has been agreed for Spurs in the region of 65 million, making him a record signing for Spurs. He was on our radar, very exciting box-to-box player, dubbed as the next Michael Essien. Did United get snubbed on this one? Did he pick Spurs over United, do you think?
Maybe so. And I'm not too sure how this transfer went through, but somebody did tell me, it was actually on Stephen Howson's podcast, he mentioned he was speaking to somebody who, there was a player who came in, he was a right back, and he was reluctant to say his name to a bit of information. And he went to Tottenham, and Pochettino, wined and dined him at the stadium, showed him around, everything. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson used to do that a lot back in the day. But then when he went to the United offices in Mayfair, the gentleman who obviously I don't know if you know the name off the top of my head, I don't know, but the gentleman who sat him down, Matt Judge sat him down and asked his name, who he's played for, his stats. There's a
similar story when we were trying to go in for Aaron Ramsey back in the day.
Yeah,
I think Wenger gave him the whole tour, and then they sent Gary Neville to give him the tour of United when he wanted Fergie to. So it's probably not something.
Little tactics like that, and again, like the whole thing about Ndombele.
We're trying to going back to that biggest club in the world. We're like, you want to play for us rather than
we actually want you type thing. And
that's biting us. That's biting us in the arse.
But with Ndombele, look, he's the sort of player that United need. We need a box-to-box midfielder. We need somebody who's.
He would have been a great replacement for Pogba in terms of energy in the middle of the park.
Definitely, and that's the thing I'm struggling to understand, because we lost out with Herrera leaving, and he gave us something different in the middle of the park. Technically, yes, he wasn't the best, but he just ratted around a lot and broke play up, and he was happy to get in people's faces. We haven't really got a player in the middle of the park who can do that anymore.
Maybe Fred. I think if you give Fred another season, we're going to talk about Fred a bit later in the podcast. And players who need to prove themselves this season.
Well, he needs to. For me, he has to be given an opportunity now, because look, for signing for 50 odd million or whatever it was, for him to be sitting on the bench is simply not good enough for us. He needs to be given an opportunity. Look, another player who's been strongly linked with both Manchester clubs, and it looks like something's going to happen with that, is Harry Maguire. We understand, obviously, both of the clubs in Manchester are after him. City, I think, have been coming in for him after Company announcing he's going to be finishing at the club, or did last season. We know Leicester aren't desperate to sell. They have no need to sell. They don't need the money. They're holding out what is believed to be around 75-80 million pound.
It's a lot of money for him.
Is it worth that, in your opinion?
I don't think he is, Peaky.
Is it just the media hype now that have hyped him up over the last few sort of weeks?
Yeah, I think obviously he's got a lot of hype because he's English. Yeah. Obviously had a decent performance at the World Cup. Been one of Leicester's better players over the past few seasons. But I just look at him, and I don't think if we brought him in, obviously we'd be better defensively without a doubt. But I wouldn't be confident in our defence.
He still looks prone to a mistake or two. I don't know if it's just me watching that.
There's something in him where I wouldn't have 100% confidence. Trust. Whereas if you brought a De Ligt in or a Koulibaly out of Alderweireld, and we're playing it around about the back, or if we're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, I'd be quite sure that these boys are going to keep it tight.
I think we just need somebody as well who's going to come in and actually just take control of that back line. I think Victor Lindelof has come into his own. I think he is now. We're seeing that kind of consistency in his performances, but I still believe he needs a leader next to him.
And another question is, Peaky, if let's say we do sign Maguire for a record defender fee, let's say 80 million, there's going to be some big opinions on him for that sort of price.
He's going to be under scrutiny, isn't he?
Can he handle it? Obviously, Van Dijk's done a really good job at, just proving everyone wrong and basically becoming the best centre-back in the world. I don't think Harry Maguire could become the best centre-back in the world.
No, again, I don't think he's going to be able to come in and, like you said, perform at that level. What's going to, like you said, get him them rave reviews and whatever else. In my book, I still think I like the way he carries the ball out from the back. I think he does that very well. He's quite confident in doing that. But like I said, defensively, I just do worry that he needs. Again, is he a centre back who needs like a leader or somebody who's a bit more composed at the back next to him? I would much rather we would have gone and broke the bank for De Ligt. I think he looked more assured as a centre back. Yeah. He would definitely have been a future United captain Ajax at 19 or whatever it is. I definitely think he would have gone on to captain Manchester United as well.
Yeah, I think we've definitely missed a trick there by not going for De Ligt.
So we'll have to see how that progress. But we know we need a centre back, and we know we need to. Again, do you just go and chuck 25-30 million at Toby Alderweireld and bring him in for a couple of years until we?
I think if we're going to buy a player next, it's got to be a centre back rather than going for a midfield. Let's get centre back first sorted, then move on to midfield.
Move on.
Going a bit further up the park,
Yep.
Romelu Lukaku, obviously been on the cards for Inter for a good couple of weeks now with his comments he made last week as well. Sky Italy reporting today that Inter are preparing a 9 million loan deal for 2 years, with the obligation to buy for a further 54 million. Bit of a strange deal there, but I think it's mainly because Inter just don't have the
funds at the moment.
Cash up front, so it's a kind of a way.
And obviously, it shows United probably have written off any kind of swap deal because they're on about a swap deal with Icardi, weren't they?
Yeah.
So we've probably written that off.
Yeah, I don't think that we obviously don't want Icardi. Otherwise, a swap deal would have taken place. So I think that the loan deals to kind of help Inter out in terms of their.
And is that a sign of how desperate United are just to offload him?
Yeah. Well, if he's coming out and making comments like that, you don't want that in the club.
I was going to ask you, in comparison, you had Paul Pogba on his Adidas tour of Tokyo, and he came out and said openly that he feels it is time for a new challenge for him. Then you had Romelu Lukaku come out and said, like, the club know what his kind of stance is. He spoke to his agent spoke to the club. So he made it pretty clear in more of a subtle way that he doesn't want to be at the club, and fair play to him. Do you agree, or are you happy with the way he came out and kind of did it, where he said the club kind of know my views on it and where I stand, and left it as that rather than going off and speaking publicly to the media or on social media?
It's one of those positions as a player, like whatever you say, you're going to be
judged on it anyway.
There's no right or wrong. Like you're going to be in the shit either way. So whether you come out and say, if he comes out and says I'm staying, and then he gets sold, people are going to say, he's talking shit the whole time. So
why didn't it work out for him at United? Because obviously before he came to us,
first season was a good season, man.
Yeah,
it was a good season.
And people were very excited when he came in after seeing what he did at West Brom and when he was at Chelsea.
I think it's just the appearance of the work rate, because he's a bit
it's top heavy. He looks heavy.
Yeah, top heavy. He walks around. He came back in one season a little bit overweight as well. If Rashford was pulling them numbers out, we wouldn't be saying get rid. If Martial was pulling his numbers out, we wouldn't be saying get rid. It's because of his work rate, I think, and just the style of play. And I don't think he's going to suit Ollie's style of play. I think he's going to go on to Inter and he'll probably be banging 30 goals a season.
See, the thing is, for me, what frustrated me a lot with him, for a big man up top, even when he wasn't having the best of games, he could have still put himself about and kind of ruffled the feathers of the defenders, but we didn't really see that a lot either. Yeah,
that's his sort of game, and it was limited of seeing that sort of style of play from him.
So it looks like from the comments we've just had, and obviously what we've seen online, he won't be missed at Manchester United. And unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, but we do wish him all the best.
I think he'll do well. But yeah, we've got 2 players through the door now, and hopefully next couple of weeks during this pre-season we can get a couple more.
Fingers crossed, a couple more come in. Yeah. Right, guys, so it's that part of the week where we take on the viewers' questions that we've been sent in over the social media platform. So thanks for sending all the questions in. Jumping straight into it then, Producer Pav. This one's sent in from Busby Bave 7. If Pogba stays, do you think the fans will boo him? The comments he made recently were disrespectful to the football club. Thoughts on that, mate?
I think I don't think he'll get booed from the off. I think if he's doing the usual stuff of walking around the pitch, not tracking back, and just if you can tell he's not putting his all in, he probably will get booed. But I think from the off, fans will kind of just see how it goes. Yeah,
definitely. I think, look, fans are going to see it as a fresh start, fresh challenge,
you don't
new
want to
season.
Start off with negativity.
Definitely. And we've got 2 big games. Let's not forget Chelsea and Wolves away are 2 tricky games. If we have bad results in them 2 games, it could kind of, put the pressure on immediately on the squad and Ollie. But hopefully, I think he'll step up, And
I don't think the situation is going to come off because I think he will go. So,
do you think he's going to?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to.
No hope there then. Yeah. Thanks for sending that one in, Busby Babe 7. Ricky J, saw your recent video on Martial and Rashford. If you had to pick between the 2, who would you go for? Cracking question, a tricky one, because they've both been awful.
Season or 2 ago, I would have said Martial 100%.
Yeah,
because he bags of talent. Every time he gets on the ball,
you're kind of on your edge of your seat again.
A little bit of that Ronaldo factor. When Ronaldo's on the ball, you're like, okay, he's going to do something here. Yeah. Same with Martial a bit as well. But last season, he was so on and off, and expected a lot more from him. So right now, I'd probably say Rashford, just because he's a bit younger. He's got that kind of Man United feel about him.
I would kind of stick with Rashford as well, purely because Martial, one thing that just frustrates me with him is that arrogance where if he's not interested, he's not interested, and he just doesn't look like he's up for it a lot of the time either.
I think in terms of potential, Martial's got a lot more potential.
Yeah,
I think you mentioned it on the video that Ricky J here is talking about. That he said if Martial was under Pep Guardiola, he'd probably be one of the top players in the world. I think.
But do you think we might see different? Is he the sort of player who needs more of an arm around him at times? And you think Ollie might kind of know that and be able to? I think
it's going to be interesting next season. Obviously, Ollie was an incredible striker, and he showed a lot of improvement when Rashford was scoring during that run. and he improved Rashford's finishing a lot. So maybe you can do the same with Martial positionally, and
maybe give him a chance up top where we know he wants to play.
Get those numbers back up.
Brilliant. Thanks for sending that one in as well, Ricky. On to the next one, Andy99. I think next season is going to be very negative, similar to what Arsenal was like during Wenger's latter years. Do you think it's going to be a toxic atmosphere? Pav, on to you for that one first.
I think we experienced a bit of that in the last two games,
100%.
Huddersfield away and Cardiff at home, because we were doing the cams and we were outside the stadium, and even when we were watching the game as well, and you can feel a lot of toxic atmosphere.
Yeah, there was a lot of split and divide opinions as well amongst the fans
regarding players, regarding whether it should be Ollie in. I think the season's going to start well, but I think it could very easily get back to that stage, given a run of bad games and player performances, and potentially not getting the right transfers in as well.
I think that's going to be the major factor. As you just mentioned, the right transfers. If we start the season 2 or 3 players short of the signings that we know we need, I think we're in for a long, hard season. I think Ollie's going to be under a lot of pressure as well if the run of form is bad leading up to Christmas.
I don't think it's not going to get to a stage where you've got fans coming out saying Ollie out. That's not going to happen. But in terms of actual an atmosphere of, where it's just pure negativity, clubs going nowhere, bored out, that sort of stuff. Don't want to say it could get to that.
It could get to that. Yeah. Let's hope not. Let's hope they start the season well, and confidence is up. Up from the start of the season. Bleed Red 08. Everybody keeps saying it would take 2-3 years before we compete again. What would need to be done in this window for us to actually compete next season?
Big ask.
Big ask. I don't think we've got enough money or time now.
Hypothetically speaking, if you were to say, if I had an unlimited check to go and buy any player to compete again, I'd probably say, firstly, you're keeping Paul Pogba, keeping De Gea, getting in Koulibaly and Alderweireld, 2 brand new centre backs, I'd say.
If we kept them 2 players as you mentioned, we brought in even just one of 2 of them centre backs, and maybe say a central midfielder
like a Fernandes.
Yeah. Do you think then we are in a position where actually we can go, because what we've got remember is Chelsea obviously can't sign anyone this year. They're going to have to say it looks like Frank Lampard coming in. Arsenal and us are going to be probably competing for that 4th spot. Yeah. Do you think potentially we could go and get top 4 if we sign a centre back and a centre midfielder?
If we kept De Gea and Pogba, I think it's possible. Like you said, Chelsea look like it's going to be a tough season for them. New manager,
losing Hazard,
can't sign anybody. They're going to have to play a lot of youth. It's going to be City, Liverpool, or Spurs for the top 3 spots. So it's possible we could be fighting for that 4th, but it's all with some buts, man. Like we could be finishing 6th again. I won't be surprised.
See, the thing for me as well is it's not just on the field matters at the moment or anymore. I think the whole kind of thing about Glazers out, what we're going to come on to a little bit later, and the whole Ed Woodward still being kind of in charge of all football related topics. It's kind of a lot of atmosphere and whatever else, tension on the club from fans as well. There's just a lot of things, underlying issues, I think, isn't there?
So many, Peaky, so many unresolved situations at the club. I'm just hoping Ed pulls his finger out and
and I suppose the issue is them problems off the pitch. They're the things that are actually having an impact on things on the pitch as well, which are affecting performances.
It all collates together because the players see it all happen. If there's a negative vibe from the fans, it gets bled out to the fans in the stadium, and then support will die down, and on-field performances then take a hit. So it's it all connects, and it just needs to start connecting positively,
piecing back together. Guys, thank you very much for sending in your questions this week. Don't forget, if you've got any questions you'd like us to feature on any future podcast, you can send us direct messages on any of the socials at Peaky Pundit, or leave your comments in the section below if you're watching this on YouTube, and we'll be sure to pick out some of the ones to feature on our shows. Right, moving on to the part of the show where we talk about general topics and news. This week's general topics is staying with Manchester United. Normally we try and talk about other things in the football world, but we're staying with United. We are, of course, going to be talking about the Glazers out, trending on Twitter. We know there is a kind of mass protest being lined up for Saturday outside.
Second time it's trending now.
Second time it's trending in a week. So obviously this one's picking up a bit of traction.
Yeah, the kind of third event of it. Obviously we had the Unfollow United during the season.
And that one kind of fell away, didn't it?
Yeah, it kind of started and stopped. Yeah. Glazers, obviously, Glazers out hashtag a couple of weeks ago. And then they were kind of planning it over the past week, wanting everyone to post at a certain, I think it was yesterday at 8 past 8 p.m. They wanted everyone to post so it gets all at the same time. And they went number 1 trending in the UK. I think United have seen a bit of a reaction. We've seen a reaction from United because MUTV do their fan phone-ins, and I think they've momentarily paused that because they expect a lot of anti-Glazer calls to come in, which they don't obviously want to
have to broadcast and take the flack off.
So I think United as a club are starting to take notice, but I don't know, Peaky, do you think these hashtags and these campaigns and possible protests on Saturday is going to have the big effect?
I don't think it's going to have a big effect. I think, look, it's highlighting the problem. The world media are picking up on it. The social media is trending. So
it's
people
all right highlighting the problem, though, but you need a plan. You need a plan in place.
100%. And again, speaking to a few of the fans yesterday outside Old Trafford, a lot of them were saying where it's going to... Look, we can't stop fans going to games. As a fan, I wouldn't want to stop going to a game. I wouldn't...
Fans are always... Look, I think a few of the boys said it on the Full-Time Devils as well. 50,000 people stopped their season ticket. Another 50,000 people have come in. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
The season tickets this year sold out, I believe, in record time. The prices are still very high. People are paying and people are still buying the shirts. It's what you got to do. I think one thing that probably happened where United would take notice if there's a certain minute in the game where something happens and all the fans
that for me would be more impactful because say if like on the 80th minute or 75th minute all the fans say right we're going to walk out,
it'll be seen on the cameras as well
because it's being broadcasted. That's going to have more of a visual impact and affect the club. Also, speaking to Webber yesterday, who has a lot to do with the Manchester United fan clubs at Old Trafford, he was also mentioning that, look, buy your season tickets, buy your tickets going to the game. But where it's also going to hit the club is if you don't go and buy your halftime beers or food, if you don't go into the club megastore and buy the merchandise, because obviously that's going to have more of an impact on, or some impact on the football club and the Glazers, and you know. It's just big concern, I suppose. And one thing I always think is the people who work within the football club, former legends of the club and whatever else, they must be under contract, obviously, where they can't come out and say things, what they're actually feeling emotionally inside.
For the club, so they can't.
How hard must it be for them, you know, working and seeing a club that they've played a part in to build up to where it's got to now, kind of crumbling?
It's not nice to see. It's not nice to be a part of. Obviously, they have to play their part as, you know, representing the United brand. But when's it going to end? I don't know, Peaky. I don't think it will. I think as long as, you know, we're still in that top half of the top 7-6 spot, we're still commercially bringing in the revenue, got the sponsors coming in, it's just going to keep rolling.
Where do you stand on it? Because look, people who I've seen online have come out and said, look, people who run YouTube channels are involved with the fan channels, this, that and the other, should be coming out and doing more online content, you know, to talk about this. Look, we're a relatively new channel. We thank and really appreciate all the support we get from our kind of small fan base at the moment, but we are growing, we're going in the right direction. I'm quite happy to sit here and talk about it because I'm part of this platform where it's talking about a football club that I love, I'm emotionally attached to,
absolutely,
much like every other fan. What is your stance on this and the whole Glazers out protest as a fan?
I don't think Glazers are the right owners to begin with. Obviously, you know, you've seen all the pictures on social media and all the stats coming out about how much they've drained from the club, how much they've actually invested themselves, the amount of times the club's been refinanced, interest paid. It's apparently going to take over 150 years for the debt to be cleared off. There's all of that in there, but then again, people can argue that, look, we spent all this money on all these players in the past 6 or 7 years. So it's a mixture of structure, debt, finances, amount of being taken from, you know, dividends, directors' fees, all that sort of stuff. If we could get an owner that's gonna, you know, come and buy the club and run it in the right direction, absolutely, I'm all for it. But right now, I just don't see any change happening structurally.
See, for me, I've come out and spoken. I said about the Glazers are running it as a business, so it's doing whatever it is for them. So it's fantastic for a business point of view from them. But look, as a fan, I want my football club back, like many of us do. You know, I'm emotionally drained and tired of seeing us being run through the mill, money being kind of dragged out of the football club as well, not invested back in the right ways, and you know, as they have a responsibility as owners to have the right people in the right positions. Clearly, they're not doing that. They've got Ed Woodward in charge for commercial deals in all footballing matters because they know he's doing well in bringing money in, but they should keep him to that. But look, I'm for this green and gold till United sold.
It's a topic that's I think it's going to probably be trending again.
Yeah, definitely.
Be interesting to see how this protest goes on Saturday.
But ultimately, the only way it's going to happen is if somebody with £4 billion comes along and makes this offer, you know, to buy the club. So if there is someone out there who's listening to this and has that kind of pocket change about, come and get in contact with us and we'll put a plan together.
All right, so final part of the podcast, Peaky.
The weekly interactive section
Peaky
is back.
versus Pav, so it's 2-all
Two
here
all,
on
yeah.
the leaderboards. If anyone's watching or listening for the first time, we do a little bit of a trivia, a bit of a quiz at the end of the podcast to test Peaky's knowledge on United and just kind of football topics. So this time around, it's based on United statistics of players. This is Premier League only stats.
Right.
So we've got 3 questions here. We'll start off with the first one. So Ryan Giggs has got the most Premier League appearances for Man United with 632 appearances. Yeah. Who are the next 3 players down that list?
With Premier League appearances?
Yeah.
Gary Neville.
I'll give you 2-3 goes on this.
Okay. Yeah. So the next 3?
Yeah, next 3 down. Most appearances in the Premier League.
Has it got to be in order?
No,
just 3 players.
Yeah.
Premier League appearances. I'm going to go... Oh, you kind of gave it. I'm going to go Gary Neville for 1.
Okay.
Come
on, man. There's a lot of players you can pick
Yeah,
from.
I know, but I'm trying to think of like the ones that filtered out towards the end of the 90s. I'm just going to put it Rooney and Ronaldo.
No, so you missed one of the biggest ones there. Paul Scholes. 499 he had. Then it was Rooney. 393. Then it's Keane, 326.
Keane, yeah. Ronaldo. Ronaldo's ever.
Man.
Bad start. I thought you were going to ease me into it.
I was expecting better there.
I thought I'd give that one away to you. I thought I'd give you a little head start.
Cool. So which player received the most red cards in the Premier League for Man United?
It's got to be Roy Keane, isn't it? Surely it's got to be.
Have a think about it. What other players we had? I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
Is it got to be Premier League? This is again just Premier League era.
Only, yeah.
It's either got to be Keane or a centre back.
I'm gonna start putting a timer on these.
Yeah, I think. Can I go onto Google quickly and? Mate, I'm stumped. I'm gonna go for Keano.
Yeah, it's Keane with 7.
Was it? Is he trying to throw me off?
Yeah, Vidic closely behind with 6.
6.
Yeah, so this is the decider now.
Decider 1-1, mates. Take it 3-2 overall in the series.
So Rooney's got the most Premier League goals for United.
Yeah,
183. Who's the next 3 down? Doesn't have to be in order. Doesn't have to be in order, but the next 3.
Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, you got 2 more to go. But if you get one wrong, that's it then.
Okay, Nistelrooy. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ronaldo.
Nah.
Not even Ronaldo's in there.
So it was it's Rooney first.
Yeah.
And then Giggsy behind with 109.
Yeah.
Scholes 107.
Scholesy.
And then Nistelrooy 95 goals.
Fair play.
So I'll take that
3-2 to producer Pav, mate. I can't wait to get some more people on the podcast as we're going to in the next few weeks, and you can have it out with them, mate. 3-2. But guys, listen, that's the end of this week's podcast, episode 5. Thanks for tuning into the Pints and Pundits podcast. If you haven't already, guys, and you are watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening to this on the go on your podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review as well. We look forward to bringing you our podcast next week, episode 6. And don't forget, if you've got any questions you'd like us to feature, just send us a little message on any of the socials at Peaky Pundit. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the latest video. Don't forget to click here for more of our great content and give us a subscribe.